Hello, and welcome back for some more Mechyard survival. In the last episode, we upgraded the two mechs that you can see behind me, Scrap Walker 1 and Scrap Walker 2. In between episodes, I have given them a little bit of an individual paint job each, so they're a little bit more distinguishable. I've also put up a few signs around the base, just to give it a bit more of a lived-in kind of feel, make it look a little bit more colourful. And I've also added a few extra details to the docking bay over here. I've changed the lighting setup a little bit. I've added a little bit of a barrier across the computer to help with the docking sequence and keep it protected a little bit. And I've also added a few exhaust ports to shoot out some sparks and things. And I've also added in a couple of sound blocks and a few rotating lights and a few other little details. And those are all tied into the docking sequence now, so hopefully when I've set it up properly, which I think I have, we should hear some sounds to indicate that the mech is undocking. Some lights should flick on, they should all flick off again. And there's some sounds to indicate when one of the mechs is docking again, and various lights flip on and off when it does things. And hopefully in a minute we'll get to see that work properly. There we go. Sounds and lights are turned on when he's leaving the bay, and then they all turn off again once he's left the bay. And off he goes on his merry way. And there is a similar setup of lights and sounds when his docking sequence engages again, which we should hopefully see in a few minutes. And there we go. That's the indicator that his batteries are low and he'll be coming back into the base any moment now. There he is. There he goes. So, as he approaches the beginning of his patrol route, there is now a timer active on the first waypoint, and when that triggers, it deactivates the AI task block and activates one of the remote controls, which triggers the docking route, makes him walk into the base, and then the sensor on the front stops his walk cycle when there's something a little too close to the front of him, which helps us make him stop more or less in the center of the platform. And then he'll lock into place and he'll do a 180. And if it docks and locks in place correctly, we should hear another sound and everything should turn off. There we go. So he is now docked and charging again. Cool, so what I'd like to do first is I would like to copy all of these ideas over to this bay and onto the other mech and get him working the same way. So let's have a look at that. Okay, well first of all we are going to need a couple of sound blocks. So I'll pop one there and we'll pop one there. And we'll call them Walker Bay 2 Sound Block Start, because that is the one that is going to trigger when the mech is making his way back or when he is just starting to leave. And we'll call this one Dock End, because that one will activate when we know he's locked down, and when we know he's clear of the bay and leaving and starting his patrol route again. And we'll also have a pair of rotating lights. You know what? I might even change these. So instead of 2 orange lights, we have an orange light active when he's coming back into dock, and a green light active when he is fully charged and leaving. Yeah, we'll do that. And the other thing we need to do is set up this little action relay that the mech will be able to trigger from a distance. Okay, well, to start with, we'll set up these alarm sounds. So, what did I have? Not that one. We'll have alarm 2 when we start. We'll give that a 4-second timer, so that it beeps twice. And then when it gets to the end of its cycle, we'll have alert number 3. Okay, so now we've got the docking relay set up. When the mech is low, it will send a relay signal that will trigger this relay. We'll turn on that rotating light. And play that sound. And that way we know that the mech is coming back into dock. And then when the mech docking arm locks into place, it will turn that light off. And it will play that sound. And when it is full and detaches again, it will turn that light on, and it will play that sound. And then when he's clear of the docking platform, we can turn off that light, and we can play that sound. And we'll know the whole thing is reset again. Okay, well, he is all set up and I think ready to go, so we'll give him a minute to finish charging and see what that looks like. There we go. The green light's turned on, and he leaves the bay, it all turns off. Fantastic. Now, hopefully, when he needs to recharge and come back again, we should see the orange light turn on. And the last thing that I needed to do was to set up the mech's battery low event controller to send a relay signal to the docking bay when it gets low to activate the lights on the sound block. And there we go. We know that the mech is now on his way back for a recharge and will be back shortly. Here he comes, making his way back home. You can see the orange light on his chest flashing to match the orange light on the docking bay.
Hi, I am Automaton. I work hard when my owner turns me on. I can get you some uranium ore. Just let me know if you need more. Put me on a journey through space and time, and if you want to break me, that's just fine. You don't need to supervise me. Just keep in mind I need electricity.
And there we go, docking sequence complete. Fantastic. Now he can just go about his business. And we've got a visual and auditory indicator of when stuff's happening. Okay, now someone else also mentioned in a comment about adding a few more sound blocks to the mechs so they seem a bit more alive and make noises when they interact with things. So I think maybe we'll cut out some of these blocks here at the back and pop in a couple of sound blocks and maybe do something with these. Okay, well we've got these two sound blocks here. Now, I'm thinking at least one of them we can have that trigger when the collision detection sensor that I've set up detects something. And I'm thinking for that we might just use one of the drone sounds. Yeah, we'll have something like that for now. So we'll call that a collision sound block, and that can be like a little warning that things are getting too close to it. There we go, we can have that sound for when his battery is low. So if he suddenly starts making that sound, we know he's about to go home. I reckon that'll do for now. If anyone's got any better ideas for sounds that he could use and things they could respond to, please feel free to let me know. So when the sensor detects something, it can play that one, and when the batteries get low, it can play that one. And we'll send him on his way. There we go, that's the sound of me getting in his way. Yeah, there you go. Got a bit more life to him now. Okay, we'll go and do the same to the other one. There we go. He's set up the same now, so he'll make a little noise every time he's about to bump into something or something gets in his way. Also serves as a little reminder to stay out of his way. Right, well, on to the next thing then. Okay, now the other thing I want to do today is I would like to build myself some more robot friends. And specifically right now, I would like to try and build myself a little robot dog friend. And for anyone that follows me, I made a Boston Dynamics style dogbot not long ago that's available on Steam and Mod.io. And I'm going to try and redo something similar, but not exactly the same. There's a few little differences I'd like to make. So, first of all, we can turn on our projector, get a merge block welded up, and we can go from there. Okay, well now we've got all of those bits welded up, we can set up the leg controls and get those moving. So the first thing we can do is go to the first of our leg controllers, and like with my tutorials, we will set up a load of legs, a load of lights, Okay, well that's one leg set up. Now we just need to do the other three, and then we can start building the walk cycle. Okay, now we've got some legs that all walk and turn on and off using different lights. We can set up the walk cycle controls. So all we need to do is just have those lights all turn on and off, like so. If we add that to the toolbar, there we go, we can have a single button, control all four legs. Right, next we need to think about control and balance and things like that. So we're going to have to add a few gyroscopes and a few other bits and pieces. There we go. Forward input, creating movement. Next we need to get the AI to control all this stuff, which is the fun bit. But we've got that set up like that. It's now trying to follow me, so if I move away from it, outside of 10 meters, it starts firing those thrusters, which triggers the walk cycle, and if we get back in close again, it stops. So we can get the AI to roughly stop and start the walk cycle. So we'll just turn that AI off quickly, and then we will unmerge him and give him a little bit of a test run, see how well this is working. Well, that seems to be working pretty well. Balancing alright. He's a little bit wobbly, but he is still quite light at the moment. The thrusters are helping to push him along a little bit. And he's stopping and starting when he gets in range. How well is he going to deal with the hills? Oh, not too bad at all. He's working pretty well. Okay, well, we'll get him mounted back on the building platform again. And we'll do a bit more work on him. He's working a lot better than I thought he would at this stage. Oh, look at him go. Okay, so the next thing I want to think about, now that we know that it can walk, and it can balance fairly well, and it can follow me pretty well, is weaponry. I want it to be able to shoot stuff. And I also want it to be able to store and sort out its own ammunition when it docks. So what I usually do is have a little conveyor in there, because small conveyors are great for drawing ammunition and storing a little bit of it too. So we're going to pop an advanced rotor on there. With a small hinge. And then we're going to build some kind of gun off the top of that. Okay, and then for now, we'll keep it simple. So we'll just have a little T-section conveyor on top of that. We can have a pair of guns on the top. And we can have a camera and a pair of the new floodlights, because I like the way they look. Okay, so as well as having a Gatling turret on the back, I also want it to have a little camera head that can look around at the front of the body. So I'll pop another rotor in there. And I don't want the head sticking up too much, and it doesn't really need to be able to look around completely. So I'll just pop one of the newer cameras on there. And then to control all this stuff, we're going to need couple of turret controllers. So I'll have one for the camera and one for the gun, and then next we can sort out the control units for the camera and the Gatling gun. So first of all, the camera, and we control that. There we go. That's the camera on the front. There we go. Everything's the right way round. Guns are working. Just need some ammunition. Fantastic. Right, well, next we're going to need a few more event controllers to turn on and off the guard mode and control modes that we want to set up. And they are going to need lights to activate and deactivate those modes. So we'll add a pair of them there. Okay, well now we've got all of those bits built, we can set up some of the on and off controls. And it can track us pretty well. So now we turn the gun on and off. It'll reset back to where it should be, at a speed that won't make it clang out. We might make it a little bit quicker later, but that'll do for now. Okay, now the mech by itself can follow us pretty well, but it can't really detect buildings or other things without crashing into them. So I usually build a sensor on my mechs somewhere that can turn the walk controls on and off. So now we can move on to setting up some of the AI controls. So there we go, we have an on-off switch for the guard mode and an on-off switch for the control mode. So I jump out, he is now switched off and not doing anything. As I turn that on, get a certain distance away from him, he'll start trying to follow me. And we're also going to need a few more controllers for our battery low and our battery full actions so that we can dock and launch again. And then the last two things we really need to give it is a rotor for its defense block so it doesn't interfere with the AI blocks on the main grid, and a rotor for its gyro override so it can balance and not wobble around. So we can pop a AI defensive block on there, and we can pop a gyroscope on there. Right, now we can set up the AI defense unit. Right, we'll give him another little test and we'll see how well he's doing. Looks like the override gyro might be a little bit too strong. There we go, we can climb up that hill pretty well. Right. He seems to work pretty well. I'm quite happy with that. Needs a few little tweaks so we can turn a bit quicker, but yeah, getting back up there again. And then maybe we'll think about doing some armour for him. Well then, that's the finished result so far. Giving it a load of armour, a load of details, a load of extra bits. We've got an on and off switch at the front, and then we've got our guard mode and patrol mode lights. It's got an identical setup on the opposite side, in case you approach it from this way. And I've also stuck a little weapon rack under there for some emergency weapons and ammo, if we ever choose to take this guy out with us, or if we just need a gun. So I need to remind myself to put one in there later. But, for now, we can give him a proper test. And there you go. He's following me pretty well. Slides down that hill a bit, but I'm not too worried about him going downhill. It's uphill I'm concerned about. But he seems to manage the hills very well now, with no issues. He can turn to follow me fairly sharply. Yeah. Fantastic. Right, so the next thing is we need to figure out where we're going to keep this guy, how we're going to get him to dock up, and what his patrol route should be. So, I need to have a think about where I'm going to build a doghouse. So we'll have a look at that next. Right, so I have chosen a spot to start building a doghouse. We've brought the new Fenrir robot over here. And my plan is to do something probably quite stupid. because I want this mech to be able to walk onto a platform that's level with the floor and has some little flappy gate type things on either side, and at the front and back hopefully as well if we've got the space for it, to kind of gently guide him into the centre, and then have a little piston come up and meet this connector underneath. And in order to get that floor level, we're going to have to do some daft things with pistons, because unlike the platforms that are in the scrap walker bays, which are made with just regular rotors with small grid heads on them, advanced rotor heads don't line up. Well, the small grid advanced rotor heads on a large grid rotor don't line up with the large grid blocks as nicely as the regular ones do. So we're going to have to do something stupid like this. Now, I've already done a little bit of fiddling to try and figure out what level we need to be, and I think I've got the right one. And so if we build some blocks, okay, well, after doing a little bit of testing and making a few alterations to the Fenrir, I've got the beginnings of an idea that I think might work. So we take control of him for a second, walk him into the middle, around there, and then we've got a series of ramps that fold up and kind of push them into the middle. Then we've got a docking piston. Oh, that's one of my mechs launching. And then that docking piston kind of shoves itself into place there. Then we can lock that down and it goes into recharge mode. And then the ramp will lift up slightly on that piston. And then it'll do a 180 spin. Eventually, might make that a bit quicker, not sure. And then when that gets all the way around, it can come back down again. And then once he is fully charged, we will have it unlock, retract the docking piston, retract the docking ramps, and then you'll be able to walk back out again. Or at least something like that. We now need to figure out how we're going to program all of that. So I've built a rotor here, the small grid head on it. So that we can start placing blocks. I think I will save building a computer for next time, because it's going to take quite a bit of work to get all of that working and to get him docking, and I can pretty much make half an episode out of that, so we'll save that for next time. So thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.